Hello, my name is Hubert Trapdoor Crabsworth, official policy penguin for the Regina Dentata Party. In this video, we will conclude with the middle of the head in one of my personal favorite topics, accessibility. As stated in our previous affordability video, the Regina Dentata campaign supports accessibility through the Universal Basic Income Grant, which will allow for persons with disabilities who require accommodations to receive additional fundage in order to support their lives. But it goes far beyond that. As a young girl at the age of 7 in a Brampton Costco, Regina Dentata's life was changed forever when she stole a man's crutches back from the evil, cruel man that had originally stolen them to reach something on a 4th shelf. Why? Because the stealing bastard couldn't be bothered to use the step stool provided for him. Had Regina not acted, Regina feels that herself, the 2 men in question, and an employee named Morgan, who honestly was trying to help, but Regina was pretty sure was a giraffe, could have been seriously hurt. Prime Minister Dentata recognizes that Canada has failed persons with disabilities and those with transportation issues. It has created undue barriers due to the privatization of goods and services, as many provincial governments have or are in the process of failing due to accessibility mandates finally coming through, and we see an inherent bias within the cultural heritage of the building, money, and accessibility concerns. Therefore, people with disabilities believe it to be a lip service. Not anymore. We are proud to announce that all people with recognized physical disabilities will get a customized off-road Segway built to their needs. In all honesty, Supreme Ruler Dentata recognizes many disabilities as being parts of one's identity. Therefore, all disabilities must be looked at holistically and treated with dignity. To accomplish this, Prime Minister Dentata pledges to enact the following changes to policy. Regina will launch the Accessibility for Canadians Task Force, which includes policymakers, building inspectors, accessibility advocates, persons with disability making up over 50% of the task force, and most importantly, ninjas of differing abilities, to monitor, or in some cases, act, to further break down barriers for persons with disabilities to allow them to participate more in Canadian society. One such example will be the use of Throwy, the accessibility policy ninja, who will throw persons with disabilities to their required destinations in a way that is safe, because if you can't trust a ninja, who can you trust? The Regina Dentata campaign will also work tirelessly to employ 50,000 persons with disabilities as auditors for accessible buildings to ensure that any accessible building permit is not only built to code, it's built with practicality in mind. This will, for the first time ever, expand to personal lodgings. Regina Dentata believes that all new buildings should be built with accessibility in mind for persons with mobility issues. Regina Dentata will mandate that any building built, regardless of being a business or a lodging, be physically accessible per the accessibility audit team. In doing so, Regina Dentata will establish a federal disability mandate. But accessibility goes far beyond disability. We must also face the facts. Our environment needs to be protected and accessible. In order to accomplish this, the Dentata administration will immediately create the Winning Windfall, Helpful Hydro, Sexual Solar, and Reliable Running Rodent grants for early and current adopters of the 4 sustainable forms of energy in all aspects of Canadian life, including home and business power, vehicle and public transport options, which reduce carbon emissions. This landmark 50% cost subsidy will entice Canadians to switch if possible to current available renewable energy. This will also apply to Canadian businesses who produce Canadian-made and manufactured products, such as vehicles, green renewable energy sources, and much, much more. It's time to face facts. Canada's fuel reserves are finite, and our current government structure has failed to see and generate appropriate responses to the growing environmental epidemic. The energy needs of Canadians are paramount, and to create renewable, sustainable energy is a linchpin of this plan. Fossil fuels are a fantastic short-term solution, but they will not help the future of Canada, which we must have sustainable for future generations and accessible for future generations. We must also not impact cost on personal Canadians. To that end, Regina will also increase production of accessible, environmentally friendly vehicles through the creation of the Little Mermaid Amphibious Car Challenge, in which accessible cars are patented by top-ranking public university institutions and made into vehicles through Canadian manufacturing sectors. By doing this, we will hope to not only weaken our dependence on fossil fuels, but conserve and preserve our remaining fossil fuels, and increase and surpass our current NATO environmental objectives. We must invest in renewable resources. We believe that this is the appropriate first step in order to accomplish a much more accessible, sustainable Canada for every Canadian. We must make this world work for us. We're not going to deny there will be some big changes under the Regina Dentata regime. However, we believe that these changes are necessary for a true North, strong and free. I am Hubert Trapdoor Crabsworth, and I thank you so much for listening. Join us in our next video, where we will talk about denial, protection, and international relations. Thank you so much for listening, and please, if you like what you hear, subscribe to the Death Pixie Collective. I'm Hubert Trapdoor Crabsworth again, and I thank you for listening.